Good evening. I would like to call to order the Westmoreland Area School District Work Session Agenda Meeting on Thursday, June 17th, 2021, being held in the Westmoreland Area Middle School, 81 Commonwealth Avenue, Westmoreland, PA 115122. Meeting begins at 6 p.m. Opening exercises, pledge the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Aher. Here. Alexandrov. Bennett. Engler.
Here.
Snellman.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Mattis. DeSanto. Here. And Blazik.
Here. Presentations, Mr. Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our first presentation tonight is a big congratulations to senior hurdler Dante Lewis on winning the gold medal in the 300-meter hurdles at the track and field state championship. We do have a certificate for Mr. Lewis. We'll be sending that to him. Unfortunately, he could not make it here this evening. Our second presentation is by Representative Nick Piscatano and Ms. April Bailey from Medlife. The presentation will be a $500 check for the Medlife grief-sensitive school grant that will be presented to Mrs. Baker. In the audience. Okay, and we'll move on and we can come back to that. Our third presentation tonight will be by Mrs. Baker. Mrs. Baker performed a fourth grade transition this year, and she would like to give a brief update on how that went and specifically what took on during that event. Mrs. Baker, you now have the floor.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm so excited to talk to you about our incoming fourth grade transition day that occurred on May 14th of this year. Our elementary students, third grade, from both Homeville and Clare Barton, were transported to the middle school for their transition day. They were greeted by the chalk on the walk, which said, "Welcome, future fourth grade," which was conducted by our Kindness Club. Students were greeted by both the Kindness Club and our PBIS student leaders. PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Incentive School-wide Program, and these students have been our student leaders for that program this year. Upon arriving, students have come to the auditorium for an assembly. These are our students arriving, and this is the mural that they received, compliments of the Kindness Club as they arrived. The student assembly. Students came to the auditorium and they viewed a highlight video of occurrences that occur in 4th and 5th grade. Our PBIS students made a video, which I want to add, they wrote all of the content themselves, turned it in for approval, and recorded it all on their own, in their own words, about expectations on the bus, how to enter the building and the procedures, hallway expectations, lunch procedures, academic and behavior expectations, and our STAR student reward system, which is our PBIS reward system. In the slides, I do have the video just so you can see it. However, in the interest of time, I'm not going to show it at this time. But in your blue folder that you have in front of you, you will find a paper that looks like this. And on this paper, there is a QR code, and at your convenience, you can simply take your cell phone, open up your camera, and hover over the video, and it will play for you, and you can see what our children made. Additionally, there is a STEM lab video on the QR code as well. This information was sent home so that students can also share it with their families. Okay. Let me see if I can get this where I need it to be. Hang on 1 second. Mr. Coker, I need to go back to the auditorium. Sorry. Okay, there we go. So this is the students in the auditorium watching their video of highlights in 4th and 5th grade. Next slide. This is me giving the speech to the children about the expectations for next year. Our 4th grade teachers were introduced. They got to sit in the lovely seats that you're in this evening, and they were all introduced so that the students know all of the 4th grade teachers. And this, when you hover on your QR code, this is the video that they made. And this is our student leaders who were in front of the students and answered questions from a student's perspective as the 3rd graders asked it of them. Okay. At the conclusion of our assembly, students were called into their classrooms for next year. They took a tour of the building and went to their classrooms. While in their classrooms, they conducted, thank you. While in their classroom, they conducted icebreakers and getting to know you activities. Each student completed a STAR, an All About Me STAR that will be displayed next year. Each student received a letter from a current 4th grade student for the incoming 4th grade student. This is our new buddy program, which I am excited to implement this year. The students will have a mentoring buddy for next year, and they will have an opportunity to meet that child next year. Students were given a bottle of water and a snack. As you notice, we have a 3rd grade teacher and a 4th grade teacher in the classrooms together. Each classroom was paired that way so that they can, the students felt more comfortable and they can interact together to make the students feel comfortable while in their classrooms. And this is the students working on some of their icebreaker, getting to know you activities in the classrooms. Okay, the STEM lab. Each class was scheduled for a time in the STEM lab. Mr. Coker demonstrated the small lab technology with some of our current 5th grade students that were in the building for the day. Students viewed many STEM materials that were purchased through the PA Smart Grant I received for $35,000. Some items that were purchased include 2 3D printers, robot, coding materials, a mug making machine, architectural Lego sets, flexible seating, furniture, and many, many more items. Additionally, with our PA Smart Grant funding, 2 teachers were trained in code.org, which is currently taught in our STEM coding classes for both 4th and 5th grade. This is Mr. Coker showing our children our STEM lab and the small lab technology. And as you can see, many of the PA Smart Grant materials are displayed around the lab. And I have to tell you, this is when I knew it was a great day. I had many third grade students come up to me and say, "This is better than Christmas. Look at all this stuff." And the other thing that was said to me is, "Could we come back tomorrow and open all this and use it?" So I knew that they were very, very, very excited to be in our STEM lab. Our students then returned to the auditorium for an additional question and answer session after going through the building to see if they had any other concerns. And upon dismissal, each student received the blue bag that you have in front of you. Within that blue bag is a yellow star Eaton Park cookie, which I don't suggest you eat because it's from May 14th, a pencil, and a fourth grade supply list, parent information, and an invitation to attend our virtual parent night, which I conducted on June the 3rd. The parent information night was well attended, and the PowerPoint that was used has been placed on the middle school webpage for anyone that is interested. A chalk walk writing saying, "We can't wait to have you here next year and have a great summer" was visible as the children boarded their buses to return to their elementary schools. This is them as they leave, and our PBIS students and Kindness Club gave each kid a bag, and that's what they saw as they boarded their buses. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you this evening about my transition day. At this time, if you have any questions or comments, I'd be happy to answer them.
Ms. Baker, it's great seeing the STEM lab actually up and running. You get taking me to the empty room and seeing what you were telling me about are great. You've done an excellent job doing all the administrative staff and the teachers here in West Mifflin. That's great. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Thank you. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Baker. Mr. Souls and I did attend a portion of the evening, and it was exciting to feel the positive vibe that was going on with the students. You could tell, you could easily see there was a very excitement in their faces. So thank you again, Mrs. Baker. Our presentation, the fourth one this evening, is an inclusion presentation by Mrs. Leah Silvers. Mrs. Silvers, could you please come in the microphone?
Thank you, Sandy. Hi, my name is Leah Silvis. I'm the Director of People Services here at the district. I was asked to explain our inclusion model that we're moving towards for the following school year. So some of you may know what inclusion is. If not, I'll give you a little bit of background about it. So the Individuals with Disability Education Act, or IDEA, requires school district to place students in the least restrictive environment, which is the LRE. LRE means that to the maximum extent appropriate, school districts must educate students with disabilities in the regular ed classroom with appropriate aids and supports referred to as supplemental aids and services, along with their non-disabled peers in the school they would attend if they weren't disabled, unless a student's IEP or individualized education program requires some other arrangement. So The procedure is for the teams, the IEP teams, to meet together to discuss what is appropriate to the maximum extent appropriate that the child is in the regular education classroom with those supplementary aids and services. On the back of the front page, I put some examples of what those supplementary aids and services are, if you're not familiar with them. Some of you may have been in an IEP meeting or included in an IEP meeting and you hear all of these acronyms, IEP, IDEA, SDI. Well, SDI, that means specially designed instruction. And that coincides with the supplementary aids and services. And those are things that help the student with special needs be successful in the regular ed classroom. So some things that our general ed teachers and special ed teachers will implement are on the back here. So for example, preferential seating, an altered physical room arrangement. Our staff also need support. So that could be a regular ed teacher having a consultation with the speech language pathologist, the OT, the PT, paraprofessional support, a behavior specialist, planning time needed for both the regular ed teacher and the special ed teacher to collaborate. There are other things such as a student may need a wheelchair or an AT device. So for example, a Dynabox for those students who need help with their language, if they're nonverbal. Some of those students that we have require an iPad to be successful in the regular ed classroom and the special education classroom. Also, specific apps are needed on those iPads to help those students communicate. But those are things that can be implemented and used in the general ed classroom. There are some other things there, such as taped lectures, a set of books that go home with the student is another supplementary aid and service that can be implemented for those students in general ed. So there are other examples there too, if you would like to look at those. So what is inclusion? Research has demonstrated that children with disabilities who struggle in reading and math can successfully learn grade level content and make academic progress when appropriate instruction, services, and supports are provided. So with the supports, that's what the supplementary aids and services help to support those kids in the regular ed setting. Low expectations can lead to children with disabilities receiving less challenging instruction that reflects the low grade level. So while having those students in the general ed classroom, they are participating then in the general ed curriculum. So they are on their standards-based curriculum, which help in developing IEP goals. Then those IEP goals can be better progress monitored. Also, along with instructional benefits, there are some social and emotional benefits that go along with inclusion. It helps to create friendships, increase social initiations, increase achievement of IEP goals, and there are higher expectations for our students with disabilities when they're included in the general education classroom. And it seems to be that families are more integrated into the community when everybody is as one unit in the classroom. So looking at the data, if you look on the one report that's included in your folder, this may be a little confusing to look at the bar graph here, but a big movement towards this more inclusive model is if you look on the where it says SE inside regular class 80% or more. So there are different levels of services in special education. So there's an itinerant level, a supplemental level, and a full-time level, and that's on your sheet. We are not meeting the target on the itinerant level. So those students who are in the regular ed classroom 80% or more of the time. So the LEA's percentage is 53.7. The state average is 62.1. And this is data from the 2021 school year. Now that second piece there, these are full-time students. They don't have supplemental on here. So these are our full-time students. So those would be students that are in our life skills classrooms, receiving autistic supports, life skills supports. Those students will not be included unless the IEP team feels it's appropriate for them to go into a learning support classroom or a regular ed classroom with the support of a special ed teacher. So we do have strong teachers there that are wonderful with our students, especially the little ones in our life skills classes. So we are moving towards trying to meet or exceed that percentage of students in the general ed classroom participating in the curriculum. Another big push is the students who are being tested in the PSSAs are not receiving the same, or they're not receiving the state academic standards or participating in that curriculum in the regular ed classroom. Yes, they do receive that in the special ed classroom. It's just a little more watered down. It goes at a slower pace. So with the supports and services, they can be supported in the general ed classroom with that. So how will inclusion, or how will it look like in West Midland? I kind of touched on that a little bit. So those students who are receiving itinerant supports will be in the regular ed classroom, participating in the regular ed curriculum with some of those supplemental aids and services, whatever is deemed appropriate by the IEP team. So one student may not need all of that, but they may need extended time. They may need a modified test. They may need their test read to them. Of course, they will have those given to them. Those students who are supplemental, they will stay supplemental receiving those special ed services with the intention of transitioning them slowly to the itinerant level. Oftentimes, looking at a student's IEP, they only have a disability in math, but sometimes we pull them out for both math and ELA, and we don't need to do that. The teachers are being supportive and want to support those kids, but that goes into, once again, our data. That is all I have. If you have any questions, concerns, I know this is a confusing topic.
Is there planned time for the regular ed teacher to meet with the special ed teacher to do this planning?
So a lot of that depends on the scheduling that the principals and the guidance counselors work on. There are other ways that they can collaborate. On Schoology, they have shared files that are already up there from this year of COVID, so they can collaborate that way. Through email is probably the best way. But it depends on the scheduling. But like I said, they can kind of do it on the fly too.
I had thought you actually meant they would have planning time together.
That would be ideal and probably the best practice, but sometimes You know, that's scheduling wise, that's just not possible. But the other thing too that we will concentrate on and provide for our gen ed teachers and special ed teachers is training. They need professional development in this, and that's just ongoing. And everything in special ed, everything's always changing anyway.
I just know this, I just wanted to say, if I'm somebody who voted you into this role originally, it's great to see the change that you're making. It's very positive. I know that we put you in a hard position to move forward, and I have full faith in you, and seeing this type of stuff, and a lot of folks don't understand what happens in the more successful districts, and you're taking our program to that level. And, I've got a couple more months up there. I'm very happy with the direction we're going at. Mr. Souls, in his prior role, had an absolute wonderful special education department under him. And I look forward to you and him and Mr. Solomon, building that same type of program for all our kids.
Thank you, thank you.
I have a couple quick questions.
Sure.
Right now, what percentage of our students who fall under these types of IEPs are itinerant?
I would have to go back and look through all of the IEPs and things are on, it's called IEP Writer that we run reports through. I would have to go back and look through that, but that includes, so there are different categories. So they're just kids who receive speech and language. So we have about 180 students that are just speech and language students. And then that goes into like speech and language with OT, speech and language with OT and PT. So all of that time is calculated into a percentage.
Right.
So
I was just trying to understand, out of the 650 special ed enrollment that we currently show, what percentage of students would be affected by the inclusion, kind of the default in the classroom inclusion model? Is this going to be a lot of change for a lot of people?
no, I know at the middle school, and Mrs. Baker, she was here, can attest, most of her kids, the way the schedule is with the minutes, they're still supplemental. Like I said, with the intention though, of moving them slowly to itinerant.
So this isn't going to be we come back in the fall and things are completely flipped on their
No.
head, different. And this will be in a conversation with the parents as well.
Oh, sure, there has to be an
Planning
IEP, sure, there has to be an IEP meeting, and it's not just a parent decision, and it's not just a school district, a LEA decision, it's a whole team decision to answer these questions, to see if it is the best placement for their child.
And based on data and sort of state guidelines.
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Silvers, you have a breakdown up here that shows where our special ed students lie. Would it be fair to say that only those with a specific learning disability, that 33.2, would be the students we're looking at?
Yes, that is correct. But this is interesting to see the data of where we are, the LEA, as with the state, just the percentages of those different eligibilities.
And if this isn't already public, I'm assuming it's public, but if it could be shared some way, I think it would be of interest for our parents and community members to see that, and that's what we're trying to work on here.
Sure.
The goal is to, move up our numbers and also make it, a more inclusive environment for our students as well, and keeping them on pace. Because I can see how quickly you get into a sort of a slower delivery model. Next thing you know, you're a half a year behind. And that's not fair to that student if they're not being challenged and that means the pace isn't being maintained.
Right, and they will still be supported, like I said,
Right.
so.
Any other questions?
Is there a plan to meet with everybody prior to rolling this out for the fall?
So we are planning on, or we have to actually do it through, like during the summer and then at the start of the school year. I mean, the IEP meetings need to be done, or at least a case manager or myself in contact with the parents.
Okay, so the parents should be on the lookout for some sort of a transition or some sort of a meeting at some point between
Right.
July and August.
Right, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sills. We have one more presentation, and that will be Representative Vic Canada and Ms. April Bailey of Medlife. The presentation of a $500 check for the Medlife Grief Sensitive School Grant. Would you please come down to the front?
I want to thank the district. My name is April Bailey. I'm actually with New York Life. I'm sure my counterparts at MedLife would love the plug. I invited Representative Piscatano here tonight because he really was the impetus for beginning this program at the West Mifflin area schools. I'm a graduate of West Mifflin area high school. I was actually in the first 9th grade class in West Mifflin area high school. I watched a hearing that he conducted talking about mental health issues in the schools, and I saw Mrs. Krill speak to that very thing. I contacted Mrs. Krill, who immediately contacted Mrs. Baker, who then immediately called me back and said, yes, we'd love to do this. The New York Life Foundation has developed a grant within the last 10 years to provide $500 to every school who just listens to the presentation about the resources that they have developed with educational associations, with the sole goal of educating teachers and helping teachers know how to deal with grieving students. So again, Mrs. Baker was excited to have that opportunity, and tonight I present a $500 grant to West Mifflin Area Middle School, specifically for the purpose of creating spaces, educating teachers, finding ways to meet the needs of grieving students. Obviously this year with COVID, it's been a great need. It's always been a need, but this year I think we've seen grief in ways that we never expected to. So it is my honor to present this to you. And I really do thank Mrs. Baker, who has just championed this project from the very beginning and looked for ways and brainstormed ways that we could, that you can impact your students. You all have with you a little card that's part of the program that we've developed. And it talks about how to talk to kids who are grieving. That little card is probably the most impactful piece of literature that we have. But there's an entire website that's been developed with teaching modules that are simple, easy for the teachers to glance at any point if they need it. There's also paperwork and pamphlets that we can give to families and to students. So I look forward to continuing to be a resource with for the West Mifflin Area School District and for middle school, and just continuing to provide as much support as I can for this district, these students who are very near and dear to my heart. Thank you so much.
Jump off the stage and just wait for it. Joe, you taking this to the bank for this big check tomorrow?
Thank you very much.
I do want to also say that Claire Martin participated as well, and they have also received a $500 grant from the New York Life Foundation.
Thank you very much, Representative Piscatano and Ms. April Baker. Thank you. Mr. President, that concludes the presentations for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. Mr. Esper, I'd like to make sure that, I know we went through roll call, but that Mr. Alexandrov was in attendance.
Yes.
Thank you. 3 addendum items.
No addendum.
4 hearing of the citizens will be at our regular board meeting. 5 information items.
Yes, Mr. President, just a brief summary of the informational items. They'll be read in full come the regular meeting. The first one is under the Safe Drinking Water Act. This year it took a pause. It'll be resuming in the upcoming school year, and that's lead in the drinking water test. Information item B will be recognizing the 8 students who were named as Students of the Year. And that concludes the information items for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon. General fund budget.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the agenda for approval next week, under number 6, which is a general fund budget, we'll have a motion to approve the adoption of the final budget, which is set at $61,056,815. Number 2 is the actual resolution that sets the tax millage rate, which will remain the same at 25.3765 mils. Item number 3 is authorizing me to send a copy of the tax resolution to the tax collector. Number 4 is authorization to have the solicitor draw up a payment in lieu of taxes from the United States Energy Research and Development Administration, or the BETIS. And that total would be $39,558.06. Item number 5 is a resolution to reenact all Act 511 taxes. Number 6 continues that. Item number 7 gives me the authorization to pay the bond payments for the 21-22 school year. Item number 8 is a resolution that sets the tax payment plan for Act 1 of 2006, which is 3 installments, which would be 8/31, 10/31, and 12/15. Number 9 is Resolution 2107, and that pertains to the homestead, farmstead exclusion. Are there any questions? Okay, under 7, Board of Directors, we have a number of first readings for policies, and those are A through Z, double A through double Z, and triple A through triple K. Item number 2 is to renew our property and casualty insurance. As you notice, the number is blank because I don't have that number yet, but we will have that for next Tuesday, so I put it on this work session agenda. Item number 3 is to approve the workers' comp program through Harry, and that's at $122,386, and that's actually a decrease from last year of $25,980. Item number 4 is the interscholastic sports insurance, and that premium is the same at $8,686. Items 5 and 6, we're going to finalize the evaluations for our superintendent, Mr. Jeffrey Souls, and our assistant superintendent, Mr. Jeffrey Solomon. And number 7 is approving an MOU with the Borough Police Departments of Whitaker, West Mifflin, and the City of Duquesne. And this is something that we do every 2 years as part of our Safe Schools program with PDE. Are there any questions?
The policy updates, that's based on guidance from the state or one of the regulatory.
No, we engaged PSBA to review all our policies, and we were going through them section by section, and we are updating them to make sure that all these policies are to current standards.
And going forward, we won't see the last updated from 1992.
And we should not. it'll be much easier to keep up with. Any other questions? Under beach finance, this is just a motion to allow us to pay the bills of July, and it'll be ratified in August. And number two is Janae Quinn and Cindy Merritt, who run our food service department. They applied for a grant, and they were awarded $15,000 from No Kid Hungry. They will use that to purchase milk coolers and insulation bags, so when we do our summer meals, and we can keep this stuff cold that needs to be kept cold. Are there any questions?
Are we doing the similar summer meals as last summer? The last summer we had?
Tuesdays and Thursdays, the meals will be given at the high school or the Diamond Ball.
It'll be the high school. We'll be in a different satellite.
Correct, so I'll go out.
Okay.
Under C, purchasing and contracting, item number one is an agreement with Issue Track. That is our technology department work order software. And that came into $2,920. Number two is an agreement with JAMF Software at $2,700. That is to provide mobile device management for the 200 Apple devices. Item number three is a 2-year professional services agreement with ARI or FBR, Family Behavioral Resources, for the 21-22 school year and the 22-23 school year at $130,610.17 and $131,916.27 respectively. That's a 1% increase from last year, and that will be a 1% increase going into the second year of the contract. Item number four, this is something we do every year just to approve an agreement with the AIU for special education services. This is not binding us to anything, but if we use the services, this agreement spells out said costs that would be associated with the various services. And item number five is to approve an agreement with EduLink. EduLink is it's a 3-year agreement from July 21 through July 24, and that's $27,360 for all 3 years. And that is software that is it teacher evaluation software. Are there any questions? Okay, we have the customary E-minutes, E-reports, F, refunds subtracted from expenditures, invoices. We have our monthly retainer for our solicitors, and we have 4 invoices for legal tax services. And under H, requisitions other, item number 2 is setting the prices for lunch next year. We are a free lunch for the students. We do charge the adults. The prices are the same as last year with the exception of the lunch, the regular lunch, which was an increase of 15 cents. We did have 2 executive sessions on May 13th and May 20th, which will be approved. And those are properly documented. And that so concludes my report, unless there are any questions.
I have a question, Joe, on 6.1B, tax lien filing fees. There are 664 tax liens. Is that usual? Is that number of tax liens typical?
Actually, that's down from last year. It was in the 700s for Westmoreland, right? It was like 746, so yes.
Okay.
But surprisingly, I would have thought it would have gone the other way.
Right.
Because of COVID.
Okay. Thanks. 8, district operations.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Recommend that the board approve ratify the creation of the Special Education Parent Advisory Committee as being a acknowledged group from the board. B, it's recommended the board approve ratify the proposal for a following track athlete and coaches to attend the state track, which they already attended, so will be retroactive. Also, C and D, that is for the board to approve our ATSI plans for the high school and the middle school, and that is the plans to cut down on suspensions and improve attendance.
that we submit to the state. This time, I have nothing but the superintendent's report, letter A. B. Under C, we have one facility use, and that is on August 21st, and that is for senior bingo to start back up, and that's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Other than that, I have nothing else on my report to provide you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Souls. Board President correspondence, there hasn't been any. Executive session discussion. We are going to have executive session after this session. Board reports, committees.
We'll start with buildings and grounds, Mr. President. We had a glycol leak at the stadium, and what glycol is the solution they put into the heating system so it does not freeze. And Ms. Wells, you want to weigh in on that at any?
I'm sorry.
The glycol leak that happened at the stadium?
Yes, it was noticed that it leaked, and Herb went and checked it out, and we have turned that into the insurance company because it did some damage to the panels in the electrical room that control our doors and our cameras. So we are waiting on a report from an electrician to give us the damage that it caused.
Was that just the joint that broke?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Was that just the joint that broke?
It was, yes, it was the valve. It was a valve that leaked.
Is that going to prevent anybody from using the stadium over the summer?
No.
Okay.
Second, I believe it's been about a week now, the water company called Mrs. Wells. They wanted to change out the water meter over there. However, they did not fulfill that, so they'll be coming back this summer sometime to complete that work. But the water's on, everything's fine. They just want to update that water meter. Our facility request form, we're asking for the board to approve the new form. Mrs. Wells went to her staff, and they added a couple pertinent items, such as what doors would need to be opened or closed, and the time they should be locked and open, since we're able to do that electronically now. So, anything else you'd like to add about that, Mrs. Wells? We also got the bids back for the Homeville Mall. Mr. Asper and Mrs. Wells, would you like to talk about the bids for the wall?
Yes, we received 2 bids for the wall at Homeville, and I think everybody is aware of this wall that's along the Everland Street and then makes a corner and goes on to Glen. So Dave McLean developed the specifications, and we met with contractors, and we had 2 people bring us sealed bids, and that we opened those on Tuesday. They met the requirements of the bid. They had the non-collusion affidavit, they had the bid bond, and they had their qualifications, which Mr. McLean has sworn out. And the successful candidate, the Mar Allen Concrete Products, he checked out their qualifications and references, and they do meet the qualifications for that. So if the board so wishes to do so, he's recommending, and I recommend as well, that we do the whole project, the Glen Cairn Street. He had some deducts. I'm sorry, not the Glen Cairn Street, the Everland Street and the Corbin Street. The deduct was on Corbin Street. If we didn't wish to do that, they would deduct $32,000 from that. And then there's a little area on to Everland that's timbers, and that's a deduct of $12,000. So the total bid amount was $309,238. You have anything to add?
Do you know when? Oh, is that a summer job?
That would be a summer job. I believe the completion date is right around August 24th.
how soon do they have to start it to hit that date?
After they would draw the official contract, get board approval, he would get started on it right away, getting the contracts drawn up, and they have to get a building permit from the borough. So once all the paperwork's done, they can start right away.
Would they have to notify the residents back there? Is the street going to be closed probably?
They would need to probably have closures, but never the full way. And we did talk to the borough a little bit about that and how that would get done. I think the residents back there want the wall done,
Yeah.
so I think they're willing to work with us in getting that finished.
And Joe, that money is left in the construction fund.
Yes, there's money in the GESA construction fund and the construction fund 219 that can cover it.
Okay, thank you.
Is this something the committee wants to recommend putting on the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
The entire project, just so we're clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's the agenda.
One thing on the building project that list, the floor in the auxiliary gym is completed. Mrs. Wells overseen that, came out very nice. Mr. Fagan's, yes, at the high school, Mr. Fagan's group did a very nice job on that. All right, under finance, Mr. Esper, any update on the budget?
No, the budget's gonna be the budget that was presented last month with no changes.
You want to provide an update on our staff accountants and how they're working out and the roles they're playing?
Yes, they started not this Monday, the prior Monday, so they've been there 8 days at the conclusion of the day because we were all on for Kennywood Day. And they're progressing very nicely. Both of them have hit the ground running, so their experiences really set them up to succeed in these positions. And one position will do the accounts payable and receivables. The other position is going to help on the payroll with the cafeteria, be the purchaser for the district, so everything that does not go through APL, and handle the bank reconciliations and help with the grants and whatever else we can be asking them to do.
Very good, thank you. Under athletics and activities, excuse me, the stadium's now open for the summer, so people are welcome to utilize the walking track and so forth. Under technology, we'll be looking Friday. We have Ford Solutions, Mr. Detweiler will be coming in to review our fiber situation. We have some fiber that's not being fully utilized, so we're going to go through that and see if that can help the backbone of our network system. So that will be looked at tomorrow.
Are they going to present the findings to us?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Under education, we brought in a company called RoboKind to actually has robots to help with autism, life skills, speech, as a teaching tool for students. They will be here Tuesday to do a live presentation for the board. They'll actually bring Milo, and there's 3 other robots go along with that to give a demonstration. This is something we'd like to recommend bringing into the district to help those students in those different need groups. We sent out a link a while back if everybody got to take a look at it. It's pretty impressive. We talked about the inclusion model. We commend Mrs. Silvas on everything she's doing to move the district forward within the special ed plan. We asked the committee to recommend putting the FID application on the agenda for Tuesday. That is our flexible instructional days. The big portion of this submittal to the state was to make sure we're able to provide remote instruction to those students who do not have access to the internet or Wi-Fi or what have you. So the district's looking at we could possibly, during those winter months when that would be the time when we'd have to do these, is to possibly load week of lessons onto a jump drive for those students. So when they do take it home, they'll have that ability to plug right in, have that lesson there, and be able to do their work and complete it. So we'll ask the committee if we can put that on the agenda for approval.
Yes, for me.
Yes.
Yes.
Also, it's, as we're going through our staffing and we're projecting for next year with classes, it looks like there'll be an elimination of 2 sections at Clare Barton as well as 2 sections at Homeville Elementary due to the enrollment and the decrease in numbers. As of right now, everything seems to be working out well. We're within the state guidelines or requirements. However, though, as the summer progresses, we will keep you informed if we have to maneuver or make a change with the enrollment or the population, if it increases or decreases.
I have a question on that. Do you expect to, like, is there a certain time in the summer where, I don't know, right now people might not be thinking about the fall for their student or their son or daughter, which do they enroll in August for the majority, or is it typically done this early in the summer?
Well, we're going off the numbers we had this year.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter if they were remote or they were in person, we're still counting those as our students.
Yeah.
So those are the numbers we're going off of. As people give me history lessons, the kindergarten numbers usually don't flush out until the second week of school.
Closer to.
So that may be an issue there. But the other issue.
Yeah, I'd be curious about like kindergarten and first grade students who maybe didn't come here last year because of the pandemic, all of a sudden showing up and us seeing sort of a wave, like. Also, so you're using current data for this school year to inform next school year's kind of section breakdown. As we get back into the school next year, and as students kind of filter into their curriculum paths, is there room for adjustment at that point?
Yes. Oh, yes. There'll be room for adjustment.
For like, I don't know, if there's a class size that's too large, or if there's interest in one subject versus another. I'm not in the building, so I don't understand, but I'm assuming you adjust.
Yes. Absolutely.
After we get that.
The state gives you guidelines. The guidelines for elementary is 25. Now, again, K1 and 2, that may be a little bit high. So we want to stay with that. But moving forward through 3 through 5, that's not an issue. Okay. Last is policy. We have our 200s ready. We met and we went over some of the policies. We updated them as to what the prescriptions were from the committee. So they are ready to go along with the administrative regulations. And as you see, they're on the agenda for
The 300s are going into the 200s, right?
We'll do the 200s. We're now looking at the 300s and reviewing those so that they will be ready hopefully for August. The 200s and 300s are your largest sections. Our policy manual, as it currently stands, we have 300s, 400 sections. The new policy is only a 300 because it's the employees. The old one was the professional employees and then the support employees. So all those policies are coming under one.
That's going to take one. I got you.
That concludes my committee report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Souls. Mrs. Kostelnik, Steel Center.
Next week, I'll be giving my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Solicitor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Blazevich. Most of my report will be given in the executive session.
Okay. Old business. New business. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mrs. Second by Mrs. Ahern. Meeting adjourned.